A Somewhat Modest Proposal by Jordan Henderson. In these strange times, it's easy to feel overwhelmed with all the problems we face as a species. The news is constantly plagued with right-wing protests turn riot, left-wing protests turn riot, the KKK, Black Lives Matter, Antifa, white nationals, violence in the streets, crime rates in the inner cities spiking, murders, rapes, and no plan on how to break the cycle. We are not only unable to escape troubles of this country, but with social media, the troubles of the world seem to ever be on our shoulders. We must recognize that Earth, with all its life, is our only home. Humanity is not safeguarded from our imperiled trajectory. What's the solution? What can we do to solve all the world's problems that the people of Earth are constantly causing? Well, the answer is simple. And it only requires that everyone show a little selflessness, a little bravery, and the will to do what's best for our planet's future. The only way to save Earth from its people is the complete eradication of the human race. Of course, this solution would require everyone in the world dying, which is a hard sell for anyone. It is in human nature to fight to survive no matter what, which is where the selflessness comes into play. Everyone wants to be a part of something, feel akin to a greater purpose. Well, great achievement always requires great sacrifice. And as a species, bringing our planet back to a state of real-world peace is the biggest achievement possible. But yeah, everyone will have to die. Just think for a minute about the government in the United States. From the early days as a fledgling nation till today, there has always been a level of division in every branch of government. Every group has their own idea of what is best for the country. A 2014 study conducted by the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation showed that 86% of Americans polled claimed to have experienced stress that month, and 40% admitted that the main cause for their stress was due to hearing about what the government or politicians are doing. If the entire human race was wiped off the face of the planet, never again would there be opposing parties fighting over an issue. Never again would a presidential campaign monopolize everything about daily life, raising the daily stress level. Never again would a tweet from the President of the United States be considered breaking news. Just think of all the untold and unnecessary political strife and turmoil that could be entirely avoided in the absence of mankind. Of course, many would argue that they don't want to die, which is a viable concern. Everyone seems to believe that they have purpose. However, the simple fact remains that governments are put in place to govern the people. Aggressive politics are an effect of government, an effect that has many negative consequences on our planet, such as legislature to allow fracking, oil pipelines through the national parks and protected lands. Remember slavery? Yeah, without people, there would be no politics. So it goes without saying that the rapid elimination of the human race is the clearest solution. Although it bears mentioning that our planet does stand to benefit from some life remaining on it, just not human life. According to the ALF's webpage, the USDA animal slaughter statistics for the year 2008 saw over 35 million cattle, over 116 million pigs, 271 million turkeys, and just short of 20 billion chickens raised and killed for the sole purpose of human consumption in the US alone. And in 2015, a team of international researchers led by the National Autonomous University determined that in the past 100 years alone, about 500 species have become extinct due to humans instead of just the 9 species that could be expected with natural evolutionary rates. Completely wiped off the face of the planet forever by urban development, poaching, and ecological disasters. all these threats to innocent wildlife and endangered species could be entirely avoided if humans no longer existed on this planet. Whole ecosystems would get the opportunity to heal, returning to a pure life cycle while enriching vast regions of the earth, thriving and promoting the natural regrowth of plant life in wilderness. Billions of livestock wouldn't be forced to lead an entire life for the sole purpose of being eaten. And yes, we get it. Critics would say that they don't want to die just so that a bunch of animals can live and the earth can thrive and blah, 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 blah. It's a lot deeper than just that, though, isn't it? And what are you doing that's so great anyway? Yeah, nothing. You're just selfish. And how can a species claim to want to live so badly while at the same time work so hard to destroy the planet that we live on? Literally, the only place in the entire galaxy that we have to live has essentially become a giant trash can for human pollution. According to Live Science magazine, toxic pollution affects more than 200 million people worldwide. In some of the world's most polluted places, babies are born with birth defects. Children have lost 30 to 40 IQ points. And FactSlide reports that 14 billion pounds of garbage are dumped into the ocean every year. Most of it's plastic. Human pollution has caused the average length of the polar bear's penis to shrink. Shrinking polar bear penises? That's just messed up no matter how you slice it. A 2016 article from AlertNet reports that the EPA estimates that Americans alone generated 254 million tons of garbage in 2013. That adds up to an average of 4.4 pounds of trash every day per American. It's clear that the biggest threat to the planet is human life. Without humans, there would be no toxic pollution, no millions of tons of garbage dumped into the ocean each year, and no shrinking polar bear penises. Yes, of course, we get it. Nobody wants to die. Why don't you cry me a river and float trash down it? It's the only way. How else, as a planet, do we shut down the never-ending trash flow that will eventually bury the Earth? What, convince every man, woman, and child and robot to just stop generating trash all at once? Start living in teepees and eating grass? Abandon industry and capitalism and the modern way of life? Not likely. To save the world, mankind has got to go. Now, listen. It's true that humans have done plenty of super cool shit. The pyramids were cool. The Colosseum was cool. Literature, art, electricity, aviation, pizza, cinnamon, movies, surfboards, Van Halen, the internet. These are all super cool things that would not exist without humans. When taken into account, however, that the modern form of humans only evolved about 200,000 years ago, civilization, as we know it, only about 6,000 years ago, and industrialization started in earnest only in the 1800s, it's easy to say that we have done quite a bit in that brief time. However, when compared to the estimate that Earth is 4.54 billion years old, we've managed to completely trash a whole planet in a fraction of the time that it's been in existence. Every year, we clear forests and lay waste to natural areas, driving species into endangerment, all because of our unquenchable thirst to provide for an always growing population. To make it right, to save the planet, yes, everyone has to die, which, I get it, is a major hang-up in this whole plan. But it doesn't take a scientific study to figure out that if you polled 1 million people, most of them wouldn't want to die. It's a pretty big commitment. It's also a pretty big responsibility. Earth is resilient, and in a few billion years, it will probably have another chance with a newly formed human race, one that can potentially do things right, one that could treat Earth right, a human race that Earth deserves. So quit crying and just die already.